Is there a way that they're able to kind of deal with that? Because we have seen teams kind of come up and play the underdog and able to beat it. And I think that's a big part of it, of playing competitive anything. You could be playing competitive Frisbee, and when it comes down to it, identifying the fact that the enemy team is better than you, that's all well and good, because there's a world where you can beat better teams. Aggro, as the ex-pro, how do you beat a team better than you?
You play your own game, and it's a cliche for a reason. I mean, you don't try and follow what they are doing necessarily. You work on your own strategy. You try and just execute on what you want to do, and then you just hope that it goes your way, and you hope that you can exert enough pressure. I mean, in order to beat a team that's better than you in a game like Smite, it takes you executing perfectly and a little bit of luck, because you're hoping that a missed skill shot here or there from the opposition turns them. They aren't checking their gold furies. They aren't paying attention to your beats timers. You know, you need some help in those areas, and Insignem didn't give NoPing much help in that game. It hurts to say, or maybe it hurts to hear for some of these teams, that it isn't always in your entire control when you're up against a team that's better than you, but realistically, it just isn't.
I think you touched on something very big as the bans come through. Terra first selection overall, and then Insignem snatches the Fenrir and the Skadi. An interesting choice. The biggest thing is that, and every team makes a mistake every game. I can't really think of a time where I saw a game flawlessly executed. And the thing is, when the team makes the mistake, it's up to the enemy squad to take advantage of it. And if I'm NoPing, that's really what I'm doing. I'm kind of playing passive, and then the second I see an inch, I need to take a mile.
And unfortunately for NoPing, they really didn't have too many of those opportunities, and Insignem looked very tight in that last game. And now here, you mentioned the Skadi. That's kind of the big question mark to me, is we haven't really seen much success out of the Skadi in this week. I believe during the regular season, she had a couple of games where she came up big, but having the double doge on this comp with the Calder could prove to be a little fruitful for them.
Sometimes games like this, if you're a team like Insignem, where you just feel like you outclass your opponents, and you play that well in game one, that you feel like you can get away with something a little bit less traditional in game two, you're basically just there to threaten it for other teams down the line. Hey, keep this in mind. Maybe if whoever's playing the Skadi does well enough in this game, in the second ban phase later on this tournament, they'll think, oh, Deathpanter played Skadi that one game and it was really good. We'll ban it. And then that opens up a pick for you down the line.
And also, you know, I was talking to the Paladins commentators. They're in the same world, right? HRX 16th through the 18th. They're doing placement rounds. And a lot of their conversation had to do with teams showing, or rather not showing, strategies, right? Because keep in mind, this is a very tough tournament. These are some of the best teams in the world. And then you go on to play against the actual best teams in the world. So whatever you do here, you gotta hope you have an extra card up the sleeve. So going here, Insignem play game number one, and they kind of dig deeper into the bag. Skadi in hopes to kind of not show some of the other stuff across the way. So far for NoPing, Terra, Naja, and Ho Yi. How you feeling, J-Mac?
The first bans and the first pick were all pretty much replicated here, but I like that they recognized that the Soul Fafnir did not work out as well for them last time around. It got a couple of good moments, but this Naja Ho Yi is really showing to me that they want a big burst mid laner when it comes back to them for their option. If I'm Insignem, I'm getting rid of the massive burst composition.
I think the biggest pillar for NoPing to really get around is this guy right here. I mentioned him once or twice. Coach Casio here for Insignem has been so incredibly tuned in. There's a lot of noise going out there in the viewing area. He's locked in, got his phone and his notebook there, taking notes. This is one of the most valuable players on Insignem, if you ask me. LASBRA is the one that's actually pushing the buttons, but the draft, the strategy, he's such a big part of this squad. And I think his approach to the game is really helping Insignem here on the largest stage.
Now, they don't go for the big traditional burst mage to ban away like you were mentioning, J-Max. Soul can provide good damage off of Naja ultimate, but Supernova isn't really ideal. I think more of Scylla and Vulcan and Kukulkan and gods like that. We'll see if NoPing wants to go in that direction. They certainly got good enough setup for a god like Kukulkan to work out, and could be the sort of strange pick that may throw Insignem for a loop.
At the same time, this Naja doesn't have to go into the jungle role like we traditionally see. We have seen some of these support Najas, and it could be a matchup up against this Fenrir. Does have a good matchup to stop the Brutalize. Can also just take the Fenrir out of the fight. Much like Ragnarok brings someone into the middle of your team, Naja can be there to take them out of the fight for a couple of seconds.
Insignem here, I want to see them give LASBRA a big, fat carry. NoPing has banned out the Hunt Bats, and I think that's all well and good because LASBRA looked fantastic in game number 1. But here, I think it's LASBRA's time to start doing Bakasura stuff, the Circuit stuff, and that's how I want to see Insignem win this game because, again, they won last time off of the mid lane. Now it's time to win off of the jungler. Having multiple approaches to the game is very important. You've got to be wide. You can't be a one-trick team. That's just not really how you're successful here in the Smite Pro League, and I think that's why Insignem has been successful in the minor league, and their fans are rabid in chat and on Twitter, and I'm loving every bit of it.
The Circuit could look pretty good here, but I think if I'm LASBRA, I want to wait until the final selection. Yeah. Mid lane, usually you don't need to see the entire draft to know what you're comfortable with, and you can pick something like a Raijin, like Insignem go for here, and it covers all your bases. It does good AoE damage, it's safe enough, it works with your composition, it's just solid all around. Let LASBRA get that final counter pick and hope it worked as well as Deathpanter's counter pick did in game 1 in that final slot.
Raijin is just that very safe option for it. Good damage, good control, safety, but it is the traditional burst that we see with the Naja. Raw has been locked in for NoPing. One of the first, not the first time that we've seen Raw this week, but this is going to be another one of his first big matchups here, and coupling with the Najas, it's just a lot of big burst damage.
Raijin does a great job against Naja as well, has a long-lasting CC immune ultimate, which I think gives him the ability. Naja starts walking towards you, you can ult, and he doesn't have a second to wait. He can't just wait out the beads. He then has to kind of take your damage to the face. So I love the Raijin selection versus Gonn's Naja. Susano going to be the jungle selection for Insignem. I think he really just eats raw for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Ryan, how you feeling about the Susano, man?
I'm always excited to watch Susano. I think Susano is one of the characters that lets you express your creativity the most in the jungle. There's a million different ways to use the kit and the god. I think it's great against gods that can't get away from you very easily. I think it's still good against gods that can, because Jetstream is such an insane ability. I love Susano. His one weakness is that early game can be a little bit rough, and that's where I think LASBRA might need a little bit of help clearing out that jungle. But Naja, if Gonn can get a lead and punish LASBRA through levels 1 through 6, then that's NoPing's best chance to win.
And Susano is a very high mechanical skill god as well. To really get that true mastery of him, it takes a little bit for him to get online. We mentioned he's not very damage heavy. He's a lot more control oriented, but it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen a high damage Susano come through. We got to see it earlier in the week.
Players like LASBRA are the ones that kind of turn that description of the control assassin on its head, and he can absolutely 100 to zero you when piloted correctly. NoPing and Insignem, 3 games or just 2? We're going to find out right now. We'll toss it over to the casters. Game 2 on the way.
Backs up against the wall for NoPing Esports. Finch and Tolly here on the call. Insignem with a chance to close the set out right here, right now, and NoPing perhaps in desperation mode as they have absolutely got to win this game.
Joshy's certainly feeling himself. Him and Genetics, you can tell in the player cams, are talking to each other, having a grand all time. And I like this Skadi pickup here, Finch, because there's a lot of instances when you're dealing with the Terra, and when you can see that she's about to dash into you, you drop that puddle right under her, make her bounce around.
And then she can't, finish off that dash chain. So yeah, Joshy can certainly be an annoyance. Genetics back on the Fenrir. He played so well in game number 1, and LASBRA on the Susano. You heard them speak at length about what this god can do. His control really does feel like the highlight to me, pulling you back in, the Typhoon to keep you trapped, and the knock-up as well. This is such a versatile god.
There's so many good junglers out here, and then
isn't there?
And then you're like, oh yeah, Circuit still exists.
Right.
Susano is still out there.
What a time
around.
to be a jungler, huh?
I know. It's because, the Pele, Mercury's, Erlang Shen's is starting to take over the world, and then all of a sudden you're remembering all these other fancy schmancy junglers.
That's right. No matter who you let through, it's something difficult to deal with. His Genetics walks in right away. Peripheral coming out, and Calder going to be able to get in some good damage, but with the minion wave here, Insignem can't really continue the aggression, so they'll use this advantage to start clearing the wave.
Genetics has no fear. He's just jumping into a whole wave before his wave even gets there. Going to get off a second stun onto YouFell. Purple and red are up for the taking if Insignem want it.
And this is it. If you were wondering why we're seeing so much Fenrir support, you just saw it. I mean, they're able to get the Unchained off so often, and so much damage and control early that's difficult to respond to, and it's a free purple.
As hard as the aggression was from Insignem in Game 1, I think it's only going to skyrocket here in number 2. Another Unchained stun onto YouFell. This time the defensive horrific emblem from SPETHRO just for peels.
He was right. He had to use it there, or that would have been trouble for YouFell. They'll fall back, but Brutalize means first blood. The respawn first blood for Genetics, taking down NoPing.
This time, Genetics wasn't going to cancel the Brutalize that time around, making sure that a first blood goes down this early in the game. Better to secure it than to possibly give it to your Hunter and dropping the kill in the first place.
Insignem absolutely showing up here at this LAN event and putting on a great performance over there in the dual lane, and they want more. YouFell just got back.
Are you serious?
They force out the beads and bring them down to half HP. This must be frustrating.
That is so obnoxious. That's something that my teammate Lassus used to do, actually, behind the pro scenes, was sit behind the tier 2 tower, or even sit between the Phoenix and the tier 2 tower looking for some kills.
Able to punish YouFell a bit just on his way back in the lane. And this is when it really can feel like it's difficult to find your way back in as Genetics force out the dive bomb. YouFell had no choice but to pick that one up. Well, let's go back and take a look at the first blood as Insignem are going to take a momentary lapse. Looks like there might be more action, but here's the actual play where Genetics finds the first kill.
It was just 3 Unchains in a row. This was the second one that he hit. Now going to go for the third one. Gets the stun up, the Brutalize just for good measure. Even more damage coming through the Skadi.
And YouFell was indeed punched a little bit, but looks like no one ended up getting killed. But that was Genetics taking down YouFell early on, and he's absolutely playing this Fenrir correctly, totally. I mean, if you're going to put it in a support role instead of all these good Guardians that are out there right now, then you've got to play it just like this.
And finding the kills, burning all the potions from YouFell even before the kill. So Tier 1 Devil Gloves, not the most sustained in the world, so YouFell couldn't really top himself off before that dive even occurred. Purple buff has respawned, and you can tell Insignem really want this. LASBRA is around the corner. He was thinking about making that rotation at first, but will secure his own buffs first.
I'm actually surprised that they didn't want to go right for the buff, but they want SPETHRO instead. He still had the dodge available. Couldn't keep up that Brutalize underneath the tower and does avoid the ricochet. Ship, though, trying to see if maybe he can find a snipe for the jungle, but unable to. That will be that Searing Pain on cooldown.
Yeah, Genetics just being able to be the absolute bully here, even juking out some abilities. That Brutalize, a little risky there as he took one tower shot just for good measure, but narrowly avoids the ricochet. And you can tell the mind games from NoPing is so... They're playing a little timid and scared now because YouFell was the one that dive bombed when the target was SPETHRO.
That's right. It's so fast that you have to do it based on just the sound cue. Seeing that immediate start of the animation, you don't have time to try and determine who the target is, which means that he can bait out that dive.
Well, what you could do is just don't position yourself in the same manner. So wherever Genetics' shoulders are, you're looking at like the actual character model, right? You're looking at the Fenrir. If he's like directly next to or facing in my direction, he's going to jump, then that's when I need to dive bomb. But if his shoulders are not aligned to my shoulders, then I don't have to worry about it.
Genetics backing in lane, and SPETHRO not going to let him have it for free. So his timing will be slowed, even alone. Genetics still jumping in, just to make sure it's understood that he's the one in control here in this lane.
He wants some player damage, and normally I would actually make a logical conclusion that, oh, there's a Discordia on the team, so that's why he's doing it. But no, there's no Discordia on the team, so there's no real reason for him to do it. He's just trying to get more into the mind games.
You guys, you stopping my back? Let me make it really clear that I'm unafraid here in this matchup, but I think that is clear. Anna going to control Zearoe because right here waiting around the corner was Gonn. He has Zearoe up in the air, brought right back down into the Celestial Beam, and a nice pickup for Ship.
Oh, LASBRA going to get stunned out as well, but here comes the counter rotations. Deathpanter banging away!
And Genetics is everywhere. A double kill now on the solo side of the map, and MargotAnna wants LASBRA, but still able to get out of there with Jetstream, and now Genetics going to pick up the other dog. It's dog-on-dog violence, and LASBRA finds another.
Oh my goodness, Finch. Genetics is playing lights out.
Out of his mind.
This rotation was insane here. Picking up the Talaria boots, giving him the mobility that he really needed to get there in the thick of things. You know what's funny, Finch? That delayed back hurt NoPing Esports.
Yes.
If they let Genetics
yes,
back, he probably would have still been in the dueling, not have made that rotation in the first place.
That is so funny. It actually does probably hurt them because he would have very likely just pathed right back towards duo. But because he delayed, he had able to make the call. It's a great point. As Genetics now chilling here, waiting in the middle lane. As well as he's played, I don't know if he can 1v3, but he's trying to catch up with LASBRA, who's on the back end. They're trying to set up a long con pincer maneuver here.
What Genetics is doing is being the mobile ward, seeing where everyone is, gets off a good double stun here. There goes the Earth and Fury, and Ship puts the dog down.
Yeah, Celestial Beam and Searing Pain a little bit too strong. Over-ambitious there from Genetics. But who can blame him? He was on quite a roll there, so I see why he wanted to keep it going. Zearoe can't quite lock down MargotAnna, so he'll make it out.
I think that's going to be a wake-up call now for Genetics. Like, okay, I need to slow my roll here. Now working on magical defense a little bit. Curious to see if that's going to be the Genjis afterwards, but still trying to make the plays happen. He is all over the place.
He absolutely has been instrumental in this early game advantage for Insignem, as Deathpanter has to use the Purification Beads out of mana, so limited options, and he is able to retreat. But now if you're NoPing, I mean, how do you slow this down? Is it just like that, kind of grouping and punishing Genetics as soon as he oversteps?
You got to be grouping up, yes. You have to have the numbers advantage. The way YouFell was running away initially from Joshy led me to believe that there was going to be more action with the dive bomb being down, but Genetics saw blood in his eyes, and he's still not done.
Brutalizing under the tower, looking for the Ragnarok, but this is too many shots. Even with all the Ragnarok protections, he ends up falling. YouFell gets the auto, it's 1-for-1, but Gonn wants to try and make it 2-for-1. He does win the trade with the ring bounce.
Oh, the ring bounce is so good there, and honestly, I'm thinking that if the ultimate came out from Joshy a little bit sooner just for the damage, then maybe Genetics would have survived in that encounter, but instead it is a 2-for-1, really punishing Insignem's aggression.
That's exactly what they have to do, and I know we thought maybe Genetics would calm down after Ship's punishment in the jungle, but absolutely not. Diving the tier 1 tower and not able to find the Ragnarok right away is what really hurt him there.
He wanted to wait out the beads. It makes a lot of sense, but just getting the damage off is not a bad idea either. Or just baiting out the beads for your ultimate. It's a shorter cooldown anyway, so you should get out of danger. Even trading 1-for-1 would have slightly favored Insignem, knowing that Joshy would have had more farming opportunities.
Well, now Insignem absolutely have to pull up a little bit here because they don't have the tremendous lead anymore as Ship just throws the Searing Pain over the wall to contest the Harpies. Things are very, very even across the board, experience and gold. In fact, Zearoe might be in some trouble, but Gonn can't find the sash.
Not going to be able to find a Ghastly Breath. Will slow out Zearoe and shred the protections. Banging the drums on the ground is Deathpanter.
Zearoe brought right back down, but it's the Taiko drums that control. Zearoe finds a 2-man stun, though, and that sets up Deathpanter to find the percussive storm. Genetic gets a kill as well, and Ragnarok has SPETHRO.
Oh, but YouFell has made the rotation, dropping the Suns as well, trying to kill Genetics now. Going to get slowed out by the basic attack. SPETHRO goes up and down, as does YouFell. Now it's a 2-on-2.
But he ends up falling in trade. Enemy missing left is the call from Insignem as Joshy makes a great rotation, but they want to punish SPETHRO. Just enough mana for the dodge, which SPETHRO avoids, but gesturing for more damage. LASBRA goes in and just barely wins the trade.
My God. 4-on-5. Insignem just won a 4-on-5 while Joshy was split pushing the left-hand side the entire time, forcing Margot to teleport to the tier 1 tower in the duel lane. 9 minutes in just to keep it alive. LASBRA was so close to death there. After the root initially from SPETHRO, the wall stun just narrowly missed the Susano jungle, allowing him to come back in the thick of things.
I wonder how much different that fight looks if way back at the beginning Gonn hits that sash onto Zearoe that he's looking for. He misses that, and it forces a commitment further into the Fire Giant pit to try and get the kill onto the Artio.
Just couldn't really turn his camera fast enough to get that going. I thought it was going to be a guaranteed win Fire Wheels off of the Stygian Torment from Margot the same way they did about 2 to 3 minutes earlier, but instead wanting to be a little more conservative with the pair of those ultimates came back to haunt them.
LASBRA having a great impact so far. A good rotation over to that fight. So is Genetics. And YouFell saved that fight from being a disaster, by the way, for NoPing by coming in and at least getting a double kill on the backside. But it still ends up going Insignem's way, and things might continue as SPETHRO is very low. The Earth and Fury in desperation on the back end. It might have set up the trade on the Genetics, but LASBRA's there with the pull, forces out the beads, and he gets the kill on YouFell.
Still going to be a 2-for-1 at the end of the day. The Thunder Crash being used. Percussive Storm was so close, actually forcing out the defensive ultimate out of Gonn, and it's going to be a 2-for-1 at the end of the day.
But LASBRA not done yet. He wants to try and clean this one up. Gonn does find the heal, but Jetstream, Sash is there to try and interrupt him in the middle, but it just isn't enough. LASBRA will indeed find the opposing jungler, and Insignem, just like that, start to pull away again.
That's a good representation of getting inside the enemy jungler's head. As MargotAnna's going to get dove under the tier 1 tower, 1v2, trying to survive, has plenty of mana. Could have probably jumped there, but I think it was on cooldown.
MargotAnna can't quite clean it up, but Ship is nearby. You see the pings, trying to let him know where LASBRA's at, but Ship instead going to focus on Zearoe. Ship instead going to focus on getting some farm, and lets those two go.
Yeah, he didn't really see where exactly LASBRA was while the rotation was happening, so didn't have the range for the Searing Pain, and a good survival tactic from Margot under their own tier 1 tower, but LASBRA catching out one underneath.
And poor SPETHRO, he's been the target all game long. Thunder Crash and Joshy more than enough to stop him from getting that dash off, and SPETHRO will sit out for the 3rd time this game. This duo side of the map is just a killing field. You do not want to be over here.
In 12 minutes of play, Genetics has 5 kills, 7 assists, a part of 12 kills already of the 14 out of Insignem. They're on pace for getting more than 1 kill a minute.
So now he wants to try and find Gonn. He will pick him up. The Taiko drums will eventually be there, and Joshy will clean that kill up. Celestial Beam does good damage, but LASBRA comes on the backside, and the Immobile Ra has nowhere to go. A double for Joshy, and they want MargotAnna too.
Oh, they definitely want somebody else here,
No
but
stun.
they need to respect the potential ultimate. It is still on cooldown, as we can see as spectators, but Insignem are not aware.
SPETHRO has respawned at this point and rejoined the fray. It's trouble for Joshy as Earth and Fury and Horrific Emblem all committed to make sure the Skadi dies, and that does cut the options for Insignem a bit objective-wise on the back end of this.
A 3-for-1 considering both Gonn, Ship, and SPETHRO all took a spill, taking out only Joshy. No real objectives to talk about that Insignem was able to strip away, but every single time they find these kills, they take away some farming timing out of NoPing just to keep the lead going for the Chaos side.
And that is going to be the next step from Insignem, is to translate all this fighting into actual objectives. Genetic is quite low. He eventually jumps away, but MargotAnna wants to follow. He's spent a lot of time here on the left side. Genetic's barely avoiding the Searing Pain, but it does clip Deathpanter.
That's right. That backstep was so important to prevent that Searing Pain death. Now Genetics going to heal from those backcams, while LASBRA in a world of hurt.
This has been great recognition from MargotAnna. He's been over here on this side of the map for like 2 minutes, and they've needed every bit of him in these fights. Now Zearoe trying to force him back, as NoPing trying not to let this duo side of the map get any more out of control.
This is an absolute barn burner between these two teams. 25 kills in 13.5 minutes combined, and they're not even done yet, Finch. They're trying to go into Zearoe.
That was the Sash paired together with the blind to come out from Ship. SPETHRO here as well, but Zearoe kind of shrugging off all that damage. But now Insignem, I think, might need to pump on the brakes a little bit for themselves and try and make sure they're not just fighting for fighting's sake, and that they can translate that into buff invades, into camp control, into gold furies or oracles, instead of just fighting.
They're trying to look for anything that they can, honestly, because that game 1, after game number 1 for both of these teams, they seem to be all warmed up, and I like the aggression from Genetics here, still making his presence truly felt. This is where they killed SPETHRO the last time around, and this is why we're seeing NoPing drop some sentry wards.
Well, red buff is spawned. That's what the fight's about this time, as SPETHRO gets pulled back in. He at least gets Earth and Fury off, but they make quick work of him. Searing Pain hits LASBRA in the back, and Gonn has a target up into the air, but as soon as he comes down, he'll certainly meet his end. Genetics is the one that does it, and finds the 2-man stun to set up Joshy.
Ship in a lot of trouble, gonna get brutalized. Blink coming out of LASBRA, using the Storm Kata. Disengaging is Margot, but can't survive is YouFell.
This Fenrir is just it's a problem, man. They gotta do something about this. He ran the team fight a deicide for Insignem on the back end of that. They're gonna back heal up and go essentially wherever they want. 4,500 gold out in front, 8,500 experience. Insignem's starting to run away with this.
Now Margot didn't use the ultimate, but I don't think it even would have mattered at the end of the day. The positioning from Insignem, they were able to just kite NoPing at their leisure. Deathpanter was able to beat and Thunder Crash away defensively, separating himself from the back of things. The ultimate from Ship, granted, it did hit LASBRA, but it was very early into the team fight. That should have been onto Deathpanter if he could have made it happen.
I think Gonn has recognized that maybe something's happening on this solo side of the map, but it doesn't even matter. They can't get there in time. 15.5 minutes into this match, Insignem have 21 kills and the Fire Giant, and a tremendous lead, and nearly all the towers still standing up. Only 2 tier 1s taken down. If Insignem want to group and try and force them, they can add to this gold even more.
That's right. Between the 4 towers combined, it's 5,000 gold waiting to drop in Insignem's pockets, extending their lead even further. They have about a 6,500 gold lead. It's going to be over 5 digits after all that.
Tier 1 tower and mid should certainly come down. It looks like they were considering going for the Gold Fury, but they want to try and take these structures. The map pressure that they'll get from this will be tremendous. But Genetics way in the backside, he finds SPETHRO and brings him right back to the waiting team. Earth and Fury does get off, but it's 2 quick kills gone, and SPETHRO already removed.
Joshy gonna get the pain from the searing of ship, but it's not enough to find lethal. He's gonna be able to heal a little bit from that red buff camp. Tier 2 tower still very healthy, but losing 2 members from NoPing means that easily Insignem can drop back to the Gold Fury and still accumulate more of a lead.
That's the right call. There's really no way NoPing can go into contest, and LASBRA wants to find these 2 all alone. Beads to get away from the Stygian Torment, and some help from Zearoe to make shift the target. Gold Fury goes down, the heal not enough, and LASBRA removes the Raw.
Oh, here comes Deathpanter as well. Percussive Storm. Thunder Crash not even needed for the damage. Diving under the tier 2 tower. This teamfight has lasted so long that Gonn and SPETHRO revived.
And now they're the only 2 standing as Deathpanter is able to delete MargotAnna underneath the tier 2 tower. This has been dominant so far from Insignem. They take the tier 2 tower in middle lane, and why not keep pushing? They still have the FG.
It was like an unofficial deicide. They find 2 members, they go to Gold Fury, they come back to the tier 2 tower, find the other 3 members, and now going for what they came for originally in the middle Phoenix.
17.5 minutes is all that Insignem need to find that mid lane Phoenix. There's still 2 tier towers standing, tier 2s in the left and right lanes, so Insignem can continue to add to the lead. Remember, the tier 2 tower, the Gold Fury, the tier 1, the Phoenix, none of that gold has been spent. Insignem fighting with an experienced lead right now.
Oh, that's absolutely correct here, Finch. The gold in hand is going to be through the roof once they actually spend it. Almost 3,000 for both LASBRA and Deathpanter, and this is why they're actually going to drop the tier 2 tower for now, recognizing they need something. No! I'm going to hold my words, Finch, because they're looking for an ambush.
Yeah, it's NoPing who are stepping forward, and they're going to get punished. It's SPETHRO as the target one more time. Deathpanter follows up with a Progressive Storm. Thunder Crash to interrupt, and that's a 1 more kill for Insignem.
The timing of the Thunder Crash was perfect, interrupting SPETHRO from crashing through his own monolith. Zearoe diving YouFell just for good measure. Insignem are just feeling on the top of the world now, Finch.
Yeah, the walls have got to be closing in for NoPing and their fans right now, trying to find a way to hold on to their tournament lives as Beads forced from YouFell. He has to jump back to the fountain. Left side Phoenix now down as well. Insignem can essentially do whatever they want at this point, is jumping in 1 more time as Genetics, and Zearoe removes ship.
It's only going to be 4 members from NoPing trying to hold up, but look at this! Catching out Zearoe under the fountain, really punishing Insignem's transgressions.
Finally finding a way to slow down this push for Insignem, and I think that might have been to their benefit rather than NoPing. They need to slow down, but NoPing want to try and keep this fight going. Genetics going back in. Joshy remains free on the right because Gonn misses the Windfire Wheels. Thunder Crash with the interrupt, and Aegis keeps Joshy alive so that LASBRA can turn it around on YouFell.
Still finding more kills. It's a 3 for 2 at the end of the day. Make that 4 as Margot drops. Only SPETHRO alive to play defense, but finally Insignem is going to spend their 10,000 plus collective gold.
Deep breaths, I would say, for both these teams at this point. It was 5 or 6 minutes of straight action. Now Insignem can finally back. Genetics still has not, but go back, spend some of this gold, and really feel the lead they've earned.
No, he doesn't want it back. He wants to hit 4,000 in hand before he does it. Get the red buff as well. Why not? Your support Fenrir with this much of a level lead, that damage is actually going to matter.
I want him to back now, though.
No, he needs 4,000.
No, he doesn't.
Okay, now he can back. It's 4,003. There we go.
At a certain point, it's incorrect to stay here, but he's just stripping away the farm. LASBRA finds the beads from Ship and pushes him back into the fountain room. But Insignem can essentially do whatever they like at this point. They're so far out in front of NoPing. There's no answers for them. All they can do is try and bunker down inside this Titan room.
It's going to be rough stuff. I just don't see a world where NoPing can honestly hold on. It's all about Insignem dropping the soap, if anything, because this is a 14,000 gold lead that I don't see Insignem dropping.
No, it'd be very, very difficult at this point. And can we talk about how impressive this run is? I mean, they were able to make it through the SML qualifiers to get to this stage, right? They were able to show up against Trifecta back on day one, and they may have had some trouble after that, but now here in the lower bracket, Insignem continues to look strong. This is a team that is ready to show that they're stronger than even some of us were saying. This performance from them has been very impressive.
They had to battle their way through a lot of different teams, if you think about it. It's kind of like a poker tournament where you buy in with a satellite to get to the main event.
Right.
And they're still not even at the main event, Finch. They have to qualify to HRX.
That's right. It's so much this team has had to work through, and they've earned every bit of what we're seeing here now. A tremendous lead, nearly 20,000 gold, 20 kills out in front as well, 20,000 experience. And it's so early in the game that every drop of it is still relevant. NoPing are going to have a very difficult time as Sprint comes out. Genetics is going to zone away MargotAnna. Stepping forward is SPETHRO trying to find someone with the Earth and Fury, but there's no viable target.
He's going to cancel the Ragnarok there. He did force out the Earth and Fury at the very least. A single target ultimate such as Genetics' Ragnarok compared to the Earth and Fury, favoring Insignem as they're going to go for round 2 on the right side.
It absolutely is. They'll send 4 down the mid Phoenix and leave on the right side. Genetics trying to threaten that Phoenix, but mid Phoenix should certainly drop down. Genetics can stand between 4. He's too tanky. Deathpanter finds MargotAnna. LASBRA gets the knock up on the SPETHRO, and YouFell has to jump away. Sashing back in is Gonn. I like the bravery, but Tycho drums might make him rethink it. Titan now down to half HP. They don't even want the kills. Insignem want the game. They want the set as they take down NoPing.
The European minor league teams taking out the global Brazilian representative there, advancing even further into the lower bracket and sending them back home.
That's it, man. I mean, that's done for NoPing, and I know that they wanted to do more than this. This is their first time making it through. Usually it's Black Dragons in that spot, and they wanted to rep for Brazil, but unfortunately they ran up against the wall of this Insignem team that's absolutely playing with a chip on their shoulder.
Genetics was playing lights out from the get-go.
Oh,
Fenrir
yes.
in both games, more aggressive in game number 2 than number 1, and honestly, that's got to be your game MVP.
Yeah, I don't know if we get a vote for that one, totally. I think the desk usually handles it, but it's Genetics. Get it right, fellas, because that's really just who it is right now. What an impressive play on the Fenrir. From minute 1, he never gave NoPing a minute to breathe.
And normally you're seeing a different clash of metas between global, pro league, minor league, and I don't think that NoPing was necessarily prepared for such an aggressive kind of style in the dueling.
Yeah, just really impressive performance from them. And Insignem, I think, are feeling really good about themselves, feeling really confident right now as they try and continue to move on through the bracket. Again, that is going to be it for NoPing. Unfortunately, their tournament run ends here. But I don't think if you're in the lower bracket, Insignem is a team that you want to run into.
Oh, absolutely. I think that there are scarier teams for sure.
Yeah.
You got to give every team the same amount of respect.
Yes.
Because look what happened to Trifecta.
Yeah, that is what Insignem has proved here at this tournament. I think at this point is that there's no one that you can afford to take lightly, especially in that lower bracket when you could be eliminated at any time. But that is going to do it at least for this set. We still have one more to go, but let's get it back over to the desk for their analysis.
NoPing, no wins. Down they go, and Insignem will send them back on home. But really what I took from this was, so Insignem, the minor league team against the international team, sure, but I saw a lot of translatable wins and positives that I think will benefit them later on in the tournament.
Insignem looked really good, and like I said, if Insignem is as good as we think they are, they will dispatch NoPing easily, and that's what we saw here today.
I mean, just look at the numbers here on the Access Replay post-game stats. It's a ton of gold. Again, I mentioned before how gold isn't always your best barometer. In games like this, it is. Deathpanter, 4,000 gold. above what Ship was able to bring here. Again, that's basically 2 items here, folks. NoPing was completely out of the race, and Insignem just stomped them. LASBRA with a fantastic game, followed up by support from the rest of the squad.
And Genetics, for me, really coming up big in that game on the Fenrir. Multiple times that he get pulled up by that ultimate onto Naja, but so many times. And the big one for me is that fight at the red buff on their side, and this is what's really going to earn him the Steel Series MVP. Did so well in the early game, but that mid-fight at the red buff was really what shines for Genetics.
Genetics has been a player that kind of came in a little bit later than the rest of this squad, and he has done nothing but impress. He's a very confident player as well. Some people have gotten to hear how confident he is. But hey, man, if you're going to talk like that, all I ask is for you to put your money where your mouth is, and he's eating fistful of bills.
He was great. And this Fenrir support is the exact sort of aggressive initiation style that he really likes. Loves the Amir. Does very, very well in the Sylvanas. These stand-your-ground sort of characters that can make plays as a support, and Genetics did that all day.
And you can see even here at that blue buff, just perfectly utilizing those abilities. And this is, I think this is one of the fights right here. Lived through that Naja ultimate and had perfect target priority the entire time. Never took his eyes off of the prize. Able to drop down that raw. And this right here, the multiple Unchained stuns are big from him.
The Fenrir support has been the flavor of this LAN, and we've seen players come out and do it like Genetics and other players that look really strong, and then players that are, it's clearly not their game, they're just trying to play what's going on here. Genetics absolutely does the doggo exactly the way it's supposed to be done. Those Unchained were really, really impressive. That Fenrir jump can be wrestled with, and he landed nearly every single one.
And that's using that the change that kind of led to Fenrir being played a little bit more during this LAN, that if you just get an assist now, you get those runes stacked all the way up, and that means your next stun is going to happen instead of just being a regular lead.
Yeah, really impressive here from Genetics and the rest of the squad. And Insignem again. I was not a believer in the minor league teams, and more that we see these Insignems and everybody else kind of performing. I think this is kind of a barometric chamber for Insignem. They're steadily improving here in the tournament, and they've got their eyes on the prize for sure. But you don't have to take my word for it. Genetics is standing by. We've got him and a friend standing here for the post-game interview.
All right, I've got Genetics and Zearoe here. Genetics, my vote for MVP at the very least. A great performance there. Talk to me about game 2, man. I mean, you just went off on this Fenrir. Something must have been going on.
Yeah, to be honest with you, LASBRA really needed a toilet, so we kind of the plan was we pushed for about 10 minutes because we wanted to get as much as we could before we could back. Literally, he's run off so quickly after the game.
I think I saw him running by.
Yeah. So you definitely switched up your style a lot, I would say, from the summer LAN where you were playing a lot of Ymir, a lot of Sylvanas. Why are we seeing so much Fenrir out of you?
I'd say it's changing the horrific meta in EU. Like, it starts coming a lot more now. Like, just that's how it is, really. I feel like just the horrific early on, just great pressure. And it's super good early, and it's just disgusting late game with Learner's Mask and the ult. You're just unkillable. That's it.
And you all have looked really strong. I mean, I personally didn't have high expectations. A lot of the other casters too. I mean, how does it feel to come in and be able to show that you all are this strong of a team and do this well?
I mean, mostly it's just we only have one shot left, so we kind of well, I mean, we're in the losers bracket now, so beating Trifecta was really big, and obviously it doesn't matter so much anymore because if we lose to LG or we lose to SSG or Rival, I think it is, then it's all over anyway. So it's still a long way from Worlds, but it's not impossible. So
speaking of your next opponent, who do you think it's gonna be, and who would you rather face and why?
I mean, we actually scrimmed both of them on EU ping, and I think we'd rather go against LG because I don't think Armada ever actually know what they're drafting themselves, let alone can we guess it. So yeah, definitely LG.
Well, congratulations on this win. It's been so fun watching you all. You're a great storyline right now, so all the best of luck to you, and hopefully more success.
Thanks.